Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Wargames. That's right, everybody's favorite debate show where real nerds have real arguments about plastic soldiers. Joining me this week is just a wonderful cast of characters. I believe we might be in for perhaps maybe a more, I don't want to say classy show than last time, but maybe posh is the right word. I don't know. We'll see.
I think neither of those are the right word.
No.
So
No way,
let's go around and introduce our guests. Starting off, we've got Mr. MC1Gamer Mitch. How you doing tonight?
What the fuck am I doing here?
Indeed. All right. Already.
Hi, everybody.
Swear count number one. I'm keeping track. Keeping track.
Dollar in the jar.
Money in the cookie jar later.
There's no way that we could go any lower than last week, so we'll just leave. I just wanted to get it out of my system, okay?
That's good. I wouldn't say lower. Hey, the wild men delivered, okay?
They did. Oh, they did. Very entertaining. Very entertaining. If you had to bleep in all those curses, though, you'd probably still be working.
Also joining me tonight, Kieran Dunleavy from the Great White North of Canada. How you doing, sir?
I feel fine. I feel ready. I feel prepared. Mitch, I want you to keep, as I keep your swear tracker, I want you to keep track of the number of times I call you guys idiots.
All right, and also joining us, a newer member of the community, also from the Northeast. We're very happy to have him on the show. Jeff Egan, how you doing, sir?
Not bad. I can't figure out my my name bar, but I'm from the Mc1Gamer Club, so that works.
There you go. Exactly. Kind of wrapped up in the name.
Unplugged, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You didn't promise tech savviness. I got it. All right. I like it. So, for those of you who might be joining us for the first time, we're going to go ahead and explain the format. Wargames is a debate show, and what we're going to have is five rounds of questions wherein our debaters, our master debaters, will each give answers to their questions. They will give their own unique perspective and argumentation about it, and we will go around the horn, each of them first advancing a position, then taking some time to knock their enemies down. Once that's all done, the judge, which is me, will make a decision about who's the winner. If I can't make a decision after the one round, occasionally I will go back to them for some additional argumentation. All decisions are final. The judge is ready to rule. They're also based on the strength of the arguments alone, not my own personal tastes. Many times on the show, I assure you, I have picked things that I do not personally agree with, but that the argument was the strongest on. And that will continue tonight. So, if after 5 rounds we have a winner, that person wins Wargames, and they are the reigning champion for the next 2 weeks. If we do not have a winner, we will go into a series of speed rounds until the winner can be determined. Very exciting. Gentlemen, are you all prepared? Have you mentally psyched yourselves up?
Yeah, I just want to congratulate my opponents on their victory.
I've been drenching myself in tiger balm for the past hour and a half, so I'm good.
That makes sense. That seems like a good plan. I assume Kieran was, since he lives up in the north, I just imagine it always looks like Rocky IV and the sort of training that Rocky does up in the Russian mountains. So I figure that's what he was doing, just running around punching meat. Yeah, you're wearing the hoodie.
So I'm wearing this right now because I just finished punching polar bears on the way home from work.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to say that I did salvage some bear fat from them, which helps protect me from the cold. I rub it on my skin. It's like sunscreen for coldness, is what it is.
Gotcha. I like it. All right. So with the preamble out of the way, I see no other reason to wait. I think it's time to fight. So here we go. We will start off with the first question. Question number 1, round 1. Does Warhammer need a single world, i.e. something resembling the old world, to anchor the story, as opposed to the infinite mortal realms? If not, why not? Now, before we begin, I believe, if from your answers that were sent to me beforehand, all of you have no as your answer, correct? You all had different reasons why, but you all said no. Am I correct?
Yeah.
I can't remember. I'm ancient.
Yes, I believe you all said no. So we're going to throw a curveball, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, as promised. Here, as I warned them before the show. Here's the curveball. Would anyone like to take a devil's advocate position and argue the opposite of what you really think. In other words, argue yes and why on the fly. If you do, 2 points will be yours if you win the round.
I'll take it.
Oh, all right. We got somebody to jump up.
You can have it.
Just 1 second. I have to erase all my notes here.
All right.
We've already lost if you've taken notes, if you put prepared notes.
Oh,
Dude,
prepared notes.
I have 2 pages of insults ready to go, and I'll just check them off as I do them.
Sure.
I'm up to
All right,
630.
Mitch, you are taking the devil's advocate then. So Mitch has 2 points on the round if he manages to win, arguing not his prepared answer. But this round, we begin with Kieran. So, Kieran, you may start us off, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I will. I can easily argue both. So I might slip in both if I feel necessary, if I feel it's needed. But here's the answer is no, and quite frankly, it's about time for the Age of Sigmar to embrace that there's multiple avenues that they can go down. It has been the old world for a long time, and quite frankly, it was a little bit of a lazy imagination out of the get-go for the Warhammer crew 30 years ago, because they just kind of mashed up the map of the world a little bit and stretched it out in different ways and called, South America Lustria and called Albion the Misted Planet because nobody wanted to know where Nottingham was. But for them to step up and go to these different realms is a really a breakthrough, and it allows them to not only expand beyond the regular humanoid action that they've done so far and expand into other creatures, but they can really let their imagination stretch, and they can cross to different planets. They can imagine different planets. They can imagine a whole different fauna and flora that they're going to explore with that. And from the little snippets that we've seen so far with the Age of Sigmar, I mean, we're getting realms that are flowing with lava, which on the Warhammer world would be unheard of to be uninhabitable, but if they switch it to a different realm, you can have lava creatures, people that thrive upon the heat and the fire and the brimstone, and I think that they can go to underwater worlds potentially in the future. As far-fetched as that sounds for a Warhammer world, as it is, it's a scope that can be explored, and with the imagination that these guys have put through in developing the one world so far, I can't imagine it will be hard for them to explore it even further and go elsewhere. So that's my answer.
Okay, got it. So we have a bevy of options open to us now, and there's many countless and things to explore, far greater than the old one. All right, very strong. All right, now Mitch, you've taken the devil's advocate. You're up next.
What? I'm sorry, I was put to sleep by that entire tirade there. No, look, my position was also no, but I can also see equally why the reverse was true, which is why I raised my hand when you gave me the opportunity. One of the things that I think that there's a little bit of a quicksand trap here that GW may be falling into with the idea of multiple worlds and various different planes of existence and this whole Battlestar Galactica type thing in space that Age of Sigmar is becoming. And a lot of what people loved about the old world was that there was something recognizable and there was a cohesion. You were on one singular plane, but there were many different nations and many different climates and many different things you could do, just as well as what Kieran said. You could have a lava world with volcanoes, but a lava area rather, lava country. You could have a jungle country. You could have lush, rolling hills or deserts. But there was something that in this one singular world that people could connect to and identify with. Now we're in we're now Warhammer in space, and now we're going to have the new plane of the week or the new planet of the month. And I think it's going to be a situation where it's going to be very much more diluted. You may have a little bit of a different feel and some extra rules, but I don't think that we're going to be able to dive in and really get to know these regions as well as we could with the way the old world was built. So, do we need all these different realms of existence. No, we don't need it. What we need is something that connects it all together. And if you have one identifiable singular world that connects it, I think people are going to have a much stronger feeling than the idea of teleporting in or taking spaceships and dropping down from planets. I think there's a different type of a feel in a fantasy environment.
All right, very strong. All right, so Jeff, you get to finish out the round there. So you have the final say in your initial points.
Yeah, sorry for the delay. I was scribbling down some of the nonsense Mitch just uttered so that when it comes around again, I can dissect that and destroy it. Vince, you said that we all had the same answer to the question in a sense. We all said no. I actually sent an emphatic no.
Ah, yes,
that is a
that's
different
fair.
answer.
Okay, no, that's fair.
So here we go. Warhammer: The Age of Sigmar has been designed to be an epic narrative. And I mean that in two senses. Epic in the sense that it's going to be large and grand scale, but also epic in the literary sense. And this brings it in line with some of the most important, most epic books and stories in Western culture. You have things like the Odyssey, the Aeneid, Star Wars, and I'd even add Warhammer 40K in our group. It's not as popular as those others, of course. But all of those, what do they have in common? They have in common a battle or a struggle that drives the narrative. In the Odyssey, it's Odysseus versus the gods who are trying to thwart him and the nature that they conjure up and the creatures who fight against him, keep him from getting home. In Star Wars, you have the Rebel Alliance versus the Galactic Empire. You have essentially democracy versus fascism playing out on the silver screen. And in Warhammer: The Age of Sigmar, you have Sigmar representing order fighting against the Chaos gods and now the Skaven god who's entered into that pantheon. So I'd argue that it's not the map, it's not the setting of the game that drives the narrative, that it's at the heart of Warhammer. It is this story. I think previously it was more the geography that animated the story. Armies would fight armies that were neighboring them, or you'd have to make up some kind of sometimes ridiculous reasons for why your wood elves were fighting dwarves or fighting tomb kings or whatever. But in this new game, you have a world in which the map is almost limitless. It's bounded only by the imagination. And you have a place where the conflicts do not just fall on geographical lines, they fall on these grandiose lines of order versus chaos, and the sides are falling in line there. And of course, destruction and death just kind of play these menacing, mercenary almost roles in that fight. And so I'd say that the strength of this new game is going to be that in Warhammer Age of Sigmar, you don't have to explain where things came from. Like when Demigryphs came out in 8th edition for the Warhammer Empire Army book, people were scratching their heads as to why these had never been mentioned before. Well, here in this new Warhammer Age of Sigmar, in a world that's not tethered, a game that's not tethered to a single world, you have the possibility of these things just coming into existence or being discovered in some far-off reaches of one of the realms, one of the mortal realms. So I see this as a much more compelling story, and I do think the story is what's at the heart of the game, and it's one that's bounded only by the creativity of the design studio and the writers who are pushing along that story. So no, you don't need a single world at all.
All right, I'll tell you what, that was strong, Jeff. I can tell you've readied yourself. That was a strong, solid answer. You mentally focused. That was laser. You knocked down points.
I brings the
I
ruckus.
like it. All right, but it does not end there. Of course, now we go to the time where you must crush your enemies and see them driven before you. So, Kieran, you will begin. Tell us, why are both of these humble men wrong in their answer and you are correct?
Well, first off, I would like to apologize to Mitch if we've kept you up past your bedtime. I hope that we can provide some excitement beyond watching the Golden Girls again.
It's going to be a challenge because they're still hot.
So, I think that in the way that this is laid out, it's going to be a little bit difficult to tear one guy down and not the other. But I think Jeff said it well. It's good to understand, Jeff, that you're well read and you've read a few old books. You kind of lost me, but you got the 12-year-olds excited when you kind of compared the Iliad to Star Wars.
Both epic.
It's a fair attempt. There's a whole nerd class out there that'll get on board with you, I'm sure. But I'm not one of those. I don't think that you're wrong that there doesn't have to be an anchoring story to all this. I think we can have a whole lot of other independent things going on. And so this is both kind of say in support to you, Jeff, as well as to throw down Mitch's yes argument. And I want to kind of compare this, and I know that Vince will appreciate it, to the world of Magic the Gathering and how they recreate a new world every year and a half. And they have the game that carries over and functions pretty much the same throughout, but they don't have to have any kind of linkage from one to the next, aside from their little minor ideas about planeswalkers going back and forth. So that's the link that we can find with Warhammer, perhaps, is we have beings that are transcending, and Sigmar being one of those, the Chaos Pantheon being the other, that can make things happen that were not possible in the single world of Warhammer. So there I go.
All right. Mitch, you're up next. Why are these gentlemen both wrong? And why must there be something?
Well, first of all, let me say to Jeff, all right, welcome. I just want to know I just want to let you know that it's rather dangerous trying to use one's entire vocabulary in a single concept. Let's talk about the actual question. I think both of you have failed to really address the question. The question was, does Warhammer need a single world to anchor the story? And I think if you're talking about the story, first of all, let's stop talking about more of the same old tired settings. That's just weak story. Okay? If it's weak writing to just create new realms and new levels of the infinite realms just as new settings to propel the story. It requires better storytelling. And if you want to anchor the story, you need to have a cohesiveness within the world. And if you want to have it be the universe, that's not going to solve your issues if you have story problems. Okay, the question is do we need a single world to anchor the story? Not do we need a really cool story or a story that repeats the same kind of tropes that we've had in science fiction and fantasy for years past. Okay, if you want to get the 12-year-olds excited, that's not going to do it. You need something new. Okay, whether it's going to be a token-esque world like the old world or something completely new, you do not need these infinite realms and all these different levels of planes of existence and different planets. You can do it on one world where the challenge and the threat is much more terrestrial, much more in your face, as opposed to having portals open up all over the place. This is, otherwise we might as well be playing 40K, or we might as well be playing Star Wars.
All right, Jeff, you have the final say this round, so you get to close us out. Why are your enemies so wrong?
Well, I'm going to mostly ignore Kieran here because he and I share such a similar answer, but I think I clearly made the more compelling point. I'm going to focus on Mitch. Mitch, you're just wrong. You're wrong, buddy. It's okay, but you're wrong. All right, here's the thing.
The
Warhammer world.
It won't make it true.
The Warhammer world that anchored the story in 8th edition, 7th, 6th, we could go all the way back to 1st, was so successful that they canned the entire thing, threw it out, and started with this. And though GW bashing is really popular sport on the internet, I'd like to think that the company has some clue of what it's doing and good reasons for doing the things it does do. That's not always the case, but I think it's the case in this regard, in this specific instance. In your initial argument, you claimed that the cohesion of a single world is an advantage, but then in your counter argument, your rebuttal, you claimed that good story writing is good story writing, and it doesn't matter. So I think good story writing in a limitless universe is superior to good story writing that is constrained by decades of storytelling that's crafted the Warhammer world as we knew it before it was destroyed in the end times. I think the question centers on this. Does Warhammer need a single world, something resembling the old world? By the word of the question, it says, does it need it? And I think that it certainly doesn't. The fact that plenty of good stories are told that don't center on a single world is evidence enough that the Warhammer world is not necessary, that the story writers do not need a single world in which to frame their entire game.
All right, I'm ready to rule. There's no need to go down to some more questions this round. This was a very strong first round. These were some very solid arguments on all sides, but in round one there is one clear winner, and it's going to be the new guy.
Yeah.
All right, new guy. Jeff gets the point, round one. Your points were strong, and I'll tell you right now what sold me. You said something in your first initial thing, which was it's not the map, because that was the only way to motivate the story before. The map motivated the story, now the story motivates the map. I liked that turnaround. And in your secondary points, the thing that really moved me was the old world works so well that they threw it out. So I thought those were both compelling cases.
It all goes downhill from here, by the way.
All right.
In my defense, it's very hard to argue against something you believe in.
Hey, that's the cost of the devil's advocate, my friend. Yeah. That's why there's 2
points.
It's
a challenge. I like challenges. Good job.
You got it. All right. Great round. Great round. So Jeff gets the point in round one. That moves us on. Round two. Round two. Warhammer has had many video game interpretations. In fact, one might say it's had a bit of a checkered past with the entire video game industry. That would be putting it mildly. However, among those, there are many great favorites. In fact, recently, some of them showed up on Good Old Games, I know, to many people's great joy. And so that got me thinking, what was the best Warhammer video game on any platform? Just it has to be a video game, but I don't care if it could have been for, the Amiga. Like, it doesn't matter. The best Warhammer video game released so far. This round, we are starting off with Mitch. So, MC1, start us off, buddy.
Sure. Well, a lot of people might go initially to an old favorite, which was Shadow of the Horned Rat. And I'm going to say right now that that was a fun game, but it had a lot of clunkiness. I think it was the Warhammer Dark Omen. And the basis of my argument is, as good as Shadow of the Horned Rat was, Dark Omen was better. It cleaned up the interface, which was a lot of issues that it had. It improved graphics. It added a whole range of units. And it was the kind of game that you just wanted to keep on playing. So I'm going to go with Warhammer Dark Omen, and I'm going to just leave it there at that.
All right, fair enough. Okay, Jeff, you are next up. So Dark Omen was his pick.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Yeah, well, you stated it so emphatically that you had to write it down, eh? Because you couldn't possibly remember.
Oh, me? No, I'm just adding to my argument for mine.
On the fly.
Well, when something strikes me, when the mood strikes me. All right, so I'm gonna go in a different direction, and I'm setting a trap for all of you. I'm going with Dawn of War, which came out in 2004. It's a real-time strategy game, and it's based in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Now, let me tell you a little story about Dawn of War. Dawn of War scored a 9.25 out of 10 in Game Informer magazine, for those of you who don't know. It's a big game magazine, prestigious. And I'd argue that Dawn of War was the first good real-time strategy game that Games Workshop ever produced. The others were fun, no doubt. I played many of these. But this was the first one that really worked. The actual interface made sense. The actual gameplay was solid. The balance of the armies was appropriate. And it was the first time that Games Workshop came even close to rivaling Blizzard's Warcraft and StarCraft franchises, which had stolen so much IP from Games Workshop in the past decade. But that's not all. That's not the only reasons why Dawn of War is the best game they've ever produced. There's also the fact that the trailer was absolutely amazing, breathtaking, inspiring. And I'd argue that the combination of the trailer, the gameplay, was so attractive to people who did not even play Warhammer games. It went way beyond people who had miniature collections. It tapped into a new market of gamers. And I've met many people in my experiences at GTs and at game clubs and so on who have told me they got into Warhammer Fantasy or Warhammer 40K by the introduction of Dawn of War, which is what Games Workshop's aiming for with all this IP stuff that they license out. So I'd say it's definitely Dawn of War for all of those reasons.
All right. It's a strong argument. I like it. Kieran, you have the you've got the cleanup position this round. Take us through it. What's your pick?
Sure. All right. Well, I sent you my answer by email, but that answer was false. It is not that.
You're tricking me.
Jerking you around. The true answer is none of these bullshit video games that you plug into your TV. That's the answer. Not Dark Omen, not the real-time strategies, not Chaos Gate, not even the Warhammer Age of Reckoning, the online bastardization that was. The true video games that everybody gets the most enjoyment out of is YouTube video battle reports. Done by guys like Mitch, by Vince, by the Godfather OB, by Anthony, by myself even once. That's the stuff that people want to spend their most time at, and those things are eternal, right? They inspire you. They get you playing the game. Jeff touched on this, that he's looking, that he thought that little kids playing the video game on their TV would then go down to the local shop and find some models and start painting them. That may be, but we've already got the audience in this. Although it doesn't capture new people, it keeps those that are involved more invigorated about it and expanding on the things that they love so much. So that, in my estimation, is the best video game. Ta-da!
All right. You're a tricky one. All right. A little outside the box. I like it. All right. So now it is time to break down the walls of your enemies. So, Mitch, start us off. Why, oh why, are they wrong and you right?
All right, first let's start with Kieran. He can butter us up with compliments, you, me, or anybody else, but that's not going to give substance to a very weak argument. That was about as useful as a knitted condom, as far as I'm concerned. The discussion was, what is the best video game? Not what's the best video. Okay? It's not a video game. It's a video. Yes, there is certainly a residual effect of somebody who watches a YouTube channel or a video and probably enjoys it to the point where they then want to go and play the actual tabletop game of Warhammer. But that's not a video game. So we're going to go and move past Kieran. With all due respect, Kieran, you know, you are a philosopher and a friend, but that was pretty pathetic. Let's go then talk about the game, my only rival then in this round, which is Warhammer 40K, Dawn of War. Let's also understand, if you've played any of the Dawn of War series, if you played any of that, you know that the original Dawn of War wasn't the best Dawn of War. It leaned on all of its expansions. Why? Because the first one had all kinds of deficiencies. As far as real-time strategy games go, it was the bastard of the real-time strategies. It was the one that people didn't play as much if they really liked real-time strategies. It had a lot of great benefits, I will admit. But I will say one thing that was a huge deficiency when it came to Dawn of War, and that is it was slow. Maybe for older people like me, where our reflexes are starting to go. I know we're all infirmed, and we're starting. You know, we don't have the quick reflexes and the twitchiness of all the younger kids. But this thing was slow. You could sit there and fall asleep between turns. You had all the time in the world, as you had huge masses of troops, you know, and resource gathering, all these different effects and levels of the game. I'm so incensed now, I'm spitting. You could sit and you could actually just fall asleep and age. You think all these gray hairs just popped up out of nowhere? This was between all of the time I spent playing Dawn of War on the game and all waiting for the resources to establish and waiting for all the things to build. The game was boring. That being said, yeah, I played it a lot.
All right. Very good. Okay, that's now Jeff. You've got the final word here. So
yeah, and then Kieran will get to think.
Or sorry, yes. Kieran, yes, Jeff. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You're next. I apologize.
No problem. So Well, I hate to keep ignoring Kieran. He's a smart guy and he makes good points. Not on this show, but sometimes. But I think that I think Mitch pretty much summed it up. Hey, Kieran, who wins when they play your YouTube video game? Oh, someone who's not in the room? Someone who's coming through the television screen or the computer screen? No, I don't buy that is a game. Though points for creativity, because that's all sorts outside the box, and it got me excited when you said it. But no, I'm not buying that. It's certainly not a video game. It is a video of a game. Big difference. And now on to Mitch's point about Dark Omen. All I'd say to you guys sitting out there is go ahead and spend an evening with each of these two games. Start with Dark Omen, get bored with it, and spend the rest of the evening playing Dawn of War. It'll save you some time.
You're going to need the rest of the evening to play Dawn of War.
It wasn't that slow. Come on. It was about strategic points and building up units. It was a solid game. And, I mean, the trailers, don't even get me started on the
trailers. Great game. That's more videos. Kieran's argument.
To be fair, yeah, no, that is a good point. But I would argue that the graphics, the mechanic, I mean, really, honestly, people out there, Google the graphics for Dark Omen. My God. You're playing with paper dolls on the screen.
We're talking about the 90s. You have to compare it to the time it came out.
Yeah, but Mitch, the question wasn't what was the best game that came out in the 90s. It was what's the best game that came out since 2015. So, you picked a game that came out in the 90s. That's your own fault, buddy.
For its time, it was really good.
Oh yeah, for its time. That again wasn't the question. So yeah, I'm sticking with. You guys haven't sold me. I mean, frankly, I was open to being convinced, but you haven't sold me. It's got to be Dawn of War, trailblazing Dawn of War.
All right, and so very good. So we've got some definite rumbling here, but Kieran, no one has fought you too hard, and I apologize to jump ahead, but yes, you have the final say this round. I am very sorry. So Kieran, take us home. Why are both of these games just paltry compared to the bevy of YouTube battle reports to that video game?
Okay, well, I'll say this first. Mitch, aside from saying Dark Omen is the best in his best orc voice, didn't really tell us so much about the game. I mean, I know it was a game. I know that they sold some of them. But I don't know anything about it, and you certainly didn't convince anybody of this intricacies and the greatness of it, except for comparing it to Shadow of the Horned Rat and just said it's better than one other game. So, okay, I'll give you that. So what I took away from your argument is it's better than one other game, and that was that. So thanks for that. I can scratch one game off my list. Now, Jeff, you brought up points that you tried to be flashy about it. You tried to tell me how it's got a great trailer. But it doesn't even have the best trailer. And I know exactly the one you're talking about. You're talking about the Eldar Farseer zapping through a Space Marine. But I'd invite you to go and check out, it is called, shit, I can't remember the name of it now because it was a terrible game, but it had a better trailer. And it's the one with the warrior priest walking in the woods, get ambushed by Chaos guys.
That was the trailer to War.
Yeah.
To Warhammer Online. Yeah. And yes, that was an amazing trailer. But
right. Okay. Anyway, you also said that it was a great real-time strategy game, but yet it was made to emulate other real-time strategy games that they were getting royalties off of already from Blizzard. So it was worse than those, and I fail to understand why they invested so much money in doing that when they were just getting money off the same kind of thing anyway, and somebody else was doing it better. And then also there's the counter argument that 40K, dude, like what the hell? Who cares about that?
Oh, I got it. Real quick, Kieran. What do they call the new Games Workshop stores? They call it Warhammer.
They call it Warhammer.
And they sell both 40K and Fantasy. Yeah, they call it Warhammer now. They're rebranding.
Interesting. They took a Space Marine that was a statue standing in front of the headquarters and removed it just recently. For another Space Marine.
All right, so let's not let this devolve into a fight about what's better, Warhammer or Warhammer 40K, because all four of us know the answer to that already. But to finish up, the question, the key word out of Vince's question is what's the best of the video games? And I kind of key in on the word best. So what makes something the best? What makes you happy? What gives you the most fun? What are you continuing to do? What are you sticking with? And if I can associate all those things with the best, then I fully stand behind my answer that the things that you're enjoying, the things that you get something out of, the things that make you happy, and the things that you keep doing are all encompassed by continuing to watch Warhammer and learning from that and interacting with it. And if you think you don't interact with it, I mean, you comment or you don't comment on those videos, you take that away and you apply it to the real life three-dimensional table. So you're still playing an extension of it. You're just not mashing buttons and yelling at the television. The end.
All right, there you go. Decision, ready to rule. Again, no other argumentation needed. This round had a clear winner. And this round's winner is Kieran Dunleavy. Kieran, you've picked an out-of-the-box answer, and you sold me on it. And the reason that it worked, beyond just you had a good strength of an answer, is Mitch, Kieran got you there, he knocked you down, and so did Jeff, frankly. You didn't sell me on Dark Omen. What was so good about it? What made you want to play it? You didn't tell me the meat that you wanted, the marrow you wanted to just suck from the bone of that game.
I demand arbitration, and I call in the judge that ruled on the Patriots, Tom Brady.
Sure.
Sustained.
I would add the reason you can't suck from the bone of the marrow of that argument is because it was already sucking itself.
Oh. And Jeff, you had it was very strong. You gave me a lot of good stuff behind Dawn of War. The problem was what Mitch did do. He didn't sell his own game, but he did destroy you. And the problem was neither of you thought Kieran was a threat. But like a sneaky little Skaven, he just snuck around the back and stabbed you both while you were fighting each other.
I just assume anybody who played video games played those Horned Rat and Dark Omen. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that neither of you guys know that game. But I'll take my defeat gracefully.
All right.
Too late.
So that gives us round 2 going to Kieran. Moving on, round 3. All right. The question for round 3. What is the greatest model ever made for Chaos? So this has to be a Chaos model, but I have purposely construed this in, a fairly open way. So what is the greatest model ever made for Chaos? Round 3, Jeff, you start us off. So go ahead, buddy.
All right. I want to tell you guys before I get started with this answer that I spent many a day thinking through this one, because if I do anything in this hobby, it's paint toy dolls to a high standard, okay?
Dolls?
Yeah, well, I mean, come on, let's be honest, frankly. I have spent an inordinate amount of time on the Games Workshop website just casing the joint. One day I'll buy every single model on that website. And so I think I have a pretty solid fluency in the Chaos range. And after examining every single model they have ever produced, and if you think I mean just the models on the GW website now, I'm also deep into the stuff of Legends. Too deep. Way too deep, okay? But it has to be something contemporary because the quality of sculpts in the past were good and the character was high. I like the funny proportions and all that as much as the next guy, Chaos Wars and whatnot. But gotta be Festus the Leech Lord. All right, lots of good choices in the past 5-6 years. You got the Shaggoth, which is a classic that came out in Finecast. I'd say that because I'm painting it now. Bloodthirster, Glotkin. We could even include some of the Skaven stuff because Vince, I know that's why you framed the question this way. I didn't take that bait. I'm not stealing that cheese. All right, or that weird stone. I went with Festus the Leech Lord, and you know why? Not only is it an excellent sculpt, not only is it finely done and executed, it's all about theme. I would put to you that Festus the Leech Lord embodies the essence of the Chaos God of Nurgle, okay? It has the entire cycle of Nurgle evidenced in the model itself. It's almost a diorama on the base. You've got the corruption, you've got decay, and you've got the disgusting rebirth. If anyone hasn't seen this model before, Festus the Leech Lord is forcing a potion down the mouth of a human that's just deteriorating and rotting as the potion caresses down its gullet. And then in the back, he's got a Nurgling feeding dead body parts into this machine that grinds them up and puts them right back into his stomach. Lastly, he's got a nurgly tentacle coming out of his back that holds up the staff in a twirling grip. It's amazing, and nothing evokes the qualities of Nurgle more than that process of putrefaction. And that model is a stunning homage to the quality of the GW sculptors, to the art of their department, and to the way in which they see a theme and really execute it fantastically in a miniatures game. So I rest on that.
All right. Very good. A little gross Nurgle to start us off. I like it.
And I know it's the god you hate the most, Vince. I want to wait for it. No Skaven, straight Nurgle. It's happening.
No, that's all right. As I've said, it's not my personal taste. It's the strength of the argument. We've left Vince, the hater of Nurgle and lover of all things Skaven, aside. This is Vince the judge. You're all right. All right, Kieran, you're up next.
Okay. So thinking back upon last week where it was degraded into debauchery and talking about porn and all those kinds of things, I think we have made it, about 40 minutes into this show without any exhibition of that. So it's time to talk about Slanesh and the Demonettes, people. Kids, cover your eyes because it's we're about to flash out the Demonettes, and not just the simple Demonettes. But what we're talking about here is the epic ones that have had their own name given to them, the name of the Diaz Nets. We understand these ones, right?
Yes.
Juan Diaz was a short-time sculptor, and if you're looking at my screen right now, you're seeing a picture of these glorious ladies, okay, in all of their elegance and evil combined together, which is a mesh of things that are warlike and both alluring. And these are why these ones are, in particular, the best that there is of all the time of chaos. Everybody likes boobies. Everybody likes evil. And you have them both combined together.
All right. I like it. Obviously, I like it, but it's good. Yes, absolutely. And they were a very popular sculpt. Short run. They only got. I mean, they had, but they were 2006. They were on the shelf for about 2 years before the new ones came out. One of the shorter runs of any mini in GW's history. So.
Yeah, and still very, very solid after.
Okay, Mitch, you close us out. Round of the initial arguments. So, best chaos model, greatest chaos model ever made.
Well, since we're going to have to resort to visual aids, I'm going to ask you, Vince, to go and call up my option, if you wouldn't mind, so I don't have to worry about screen share.
Sure. Okay.
I'm going to go with the Forge World Chaos War Mammoth.
Okay.
And I'm going to say something that probably I can only hope that the rest of you have enjoyed hearing from other ladies' mouths, because I have many a time. Oh my God, it's huge! It's got a small army atop it. It's huge! It's a fucking mammoth. It's huge! Now it's got 22 wounds in Age of Sigmar. It's huge! Can we see a picture of it, please?
Sure. There you go.
Who doesn't want this thing to be wildly available? I want 2. I want 3. This evokes epicness. Look at this thing. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And it would be a absolute treasure when it comes to painting it. Okay, there are so many things that you can do. It is an epic model. It screams huge. Okay, it screams mammoth, and it's a chaos mammoth, so it qualifies. I will tear down my opponents later, but for now, just bask in the awe of the Chaos War Mammoth.
All right. Okay. I feel almost compelled as though I should show a picture of Festus the Leech Lord, being that you were the only one who didn't get the visual aid.
That would be fair.
Though my description, I think, was,
very vivid.
Absolutely.
Too vivid. Maybe too vivid.
So I will do just that. I will bring up a Festus the Leech Lord. That way we can have some equal footing here. I wouldn't want anybody to think we had any level of favoritism. So here we go. And here is Festus.
Much depreciated.
Looks like Jeffrey. Wait a minute.
Oh, come on now. Come on.
I had on my screen.
I have Mitch, I have a beard. Okay.
That's exactly. Yes. Come on. He's clearly clean shaven.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
he's got
There
a
we go.
bowel problem. Oh,
All right. Good old
show
Festus.
the
There he
world
is.
It's
show
a
the
beautiful
world you're
model.
so dangerous.
All right.
All right. So, I mean, I have to cross-examine these people. I mean, I
That's
think
correct.
the
Yes.
visual evidence speaks for itself. But I'm gonna give it the full treatment here. On the Demonettes, clearly, Kieran trying to pull at the heartstrings of Vince Venturella, just milking it at that point. Fine, not a bad sculpt, to be fair. Though Games Workshop did replace them, so I wonder why they did that. I would have replaced them simply because if we're talking about technical sculpting, these models have it in theme for sure. They got that in spades. But technical sculpting, you got chunky legs, strange appendages. You're in metal, and some of the positioning of the legs. It's supposed to be seductive. There's no graceful curves to those models. It's herky jerky, and it's indicative of the age in which it was produced. Now, I have to admit, Mitch, when it comes to your model, the Chaos War Mammoth is nice, and it is massive. But I just say that big things sometimes come in small packages. That's something that I've been told before. So
Sorry to hear that, buddy.
just kidding. The joke was hanging out there. I had to make it. The Chaos War Mammoth is a gigantic piece of kit, and America, don't be fooled by the fact that it is this massive resin sculpt that you only have to mortgage your house twice to afford. But Festus the Leech Lord tells a story. Okay? Festus the Leech Lord is evocative of the theme of Nurgle, and it displays the highest quality of Games Workshop sculpts. And I'd put this to you, Mitch. If you look closely at the Forge World War Mammoth, and Forge World is a fantastic miniature sculpting company partnered with Games Workshop, they're great. But I would put to you that the quality of the sculpts, I'm talking the tentacle, I'm talking the staff that you have on Festus Leech Lord, the cycloptic Nurgling that is gleefully throwing body parts into a machine that grinds them up for Soylent Green, emphasis on the green because it's Nurgle. I mean, it's just unparalleled. So your War Mammoth is strong. I'm not taking anything away from you there, but no, it doesn't hold a candle to Festus the Leech Lord. I'm sticking with it.
All right. Kieran, you've got next up. Tear them down. Why are the Diazinettes the choice here that I should make?
Or why are the other things not?
Yes.
Well, I want to focus on the idea of elegance here, because that's what the Diaz nets have that stand out far, far above these other two things that these gentlemen have put forth. But I kind of think that there might be indicative of personality when they look at things visually. So when Mitch is spouting off about his huge mammoth, and it's a chunky, unelegant thing that a bunch of dudes want to strap onto and ride around, I mean,
That's
no better than a Mexican bus, is what that is.
Jesus.
Now, on the Festus side of things, I mean, I don't know Jeff all that well, but I wonder why you're attracted to a guy that just straps a bunch of poo on him. And the model itself, as much as I'm kind of mildly compelled, I'll give you, by the fact that there is a story going on there. If we look at the sculpting style that goes into Festus, it's just one thing blobbed onto another. So if you want to look at the photo again for the sake of comparison, you just got lumps added onto lumps strapped to other lumps, which are beside some lumps, and then he's leaning on a staff so he can hold up his lumps, right? That's just a series of nonsense right there. Whereas if we take a glance one more time at the elegance of a Daemonette, then you'll see what I mean, that this thing takes a sculptor to do. It takes a sculptor to put fine details onto a miniature that doesn't have a big fat surface that you just blob things onto, right? That's why it comes out looking this way. There's many people, if we compare this to other arts, the best stories are the short stories where you say a lot. And this is a small model that's sleek and elegant, and it says a lot. So that's what I have to say about that.
All right. Mitch, you close us out. Why is the War Mammoth better than the Diazinets and Festus the Leech Lord? Why is the War Mammoth? Why does he deserve the title of greatest and these two do not?
I think the question answers itself. I mean, what is the greatest model? I mean, look, the D's nuts, is that what it's called? D's nuts? Oh, the D. Okay,
12%.
D's nuts. Okay. They look. I don't want to. No offense to the sculptor, and if you enjoy, sad-looking aged strippers, you're probably gonna like D's nuts. Okay, but. I just don't think I don't think that they're the kind of thing that kids are going to walk into a store and say, I want that. They may want maybe they want the 8 strippers. I don't know. I can't tell. But the little kids are not going to come in. First of all, they're probably going to have their eyes averted by Dad, who's probably going to get a closer look at the boobies. But you can't take boobies and make an argument, Kieran. Boobies don't make an argument. Okay. Half-dressed models don't make it the greatest models ever made. Okay, you may like the unit, you may like the abilities of it on the table. You may enjoy looking at your naked little figures while you paint them. I just don't think that makes it the greatest model ever made for Chaos. Well, when we talk about Festus, certainly an advanced model, certainly the kind of model that you definitely have to really pull out all the skills you have to really bring out the best in a sculpt like that. But we're now talking also about a model that is just like Kieran said. I mean, I have to agree with you, Kieran. This guy's covered in bile and semen. I mean, he's disgusting. Okay, and if you enjoy that, if that's what you like, if you like bile and semen, you're gonna like these models. If you enjoy painting this stuff, have at you. If I wanted to paint, cool-looking stripper chicks in bondage outfits, I wouldn't pick D's nuts. I'd pick something else that looked pretty cool, maybe the actual demonettes that they have right now, or something else. If I wanted to, have a character that was filled with bile and semen, well, I wouldn't. But if that's what you want, if that's what you enjoy having on your painting table, and you like to spend all that time painting the different colors of bile and semen, have at it. Festus is going to be the one that you want. But when a kid walks into a gaming store, if they ever would see one, if there's going to be something as huge and monstrous as the Chaos Mammoth, that is going to be the centerpiece of any army. It's going to be the thing that you're going to have. You're probably going to spend a century painting, at least if you're me, and it's going to be the most impressive thing that you put on the table. And when you're talking about the question, what is the greatest model ever made for Chaos? All right, it's not just the advanced, nature of the sculpt for painting purposes, or whether or not there's a lot of boobies and nipples and and nipple rings or whatever. It's what's the thing that when you see it, you go, wow, holy shit, look at that thing on the table. And I've heard that also.
All right, 3 rounds in a row. And then you got sent out of that
coffee shop, didn't
you? 3 rounds in a row. I'm ready to rule after that. All right, so this round, again, I've got a clear winner, and that clear winner is MC1Gamer. Mitch, you take it, man. It was, and what sold me on it was you made all the right arguments there at the end when you said, look, you take a little kid and you show them these 3 things. What are they going to want? They're going to want the big thing. You have the adult there. He slams that thing down on the table. That's my centerpiece. This takes me forever to paint. Festus is great, but he's a man-sized dude, and he can easily get lost in the army. I hear it. I love the Diazinet sculpt, but, in the end, honestly, I think Jeff was the most damaging to you, because I do agree, like, the sculpt is beautiful, but some aspects of it do feel a bit dated. If, Kieran, you had said, like, or if someone had worked in we would have never had modern witch elves without Diazinets, because I think that those modern witch elves are very much based on the Diaz sculpts. That would have been a good point too. But as it stands, huge centerpiece. Kids love it. Adults want it too. Fun for kids of all ages. The War Mammoth with his giant scene on the back of him where you can put 30 guys in and have a table scene as though they're all sitting down to dinner. I mean, it's the winner. It's got to be the winner. All right.
On the board.
There we go.
The vodka finally kicked in.
There you go. After 3 rounds, we're in a dead heat here. It's all tied up. So, oh boy.
Before we move on, I just want to say that I find it's mildly ironic that that Mitch turned to the "what's good for kids" argument here after he opened up the show by being the first one swearing.
Sure.
We don't have any tips in the tip jar for the word idiot. Hold on.
You're an
Far too
idiot.
polite.
Well, that was an idiotic thing for you to say. That's how
There you go.
There's a
Unfortunately, consistency is not any part of the judgment, based on, except at least only within your one argument. If you want to reverse positions, argument to argument, once you know question to question, that's fine. All right. Round 4. Round 4 is known as the showdown round. In the showdown round, we have a battle of some of the most epic characters in the Warhammer and associated other wargaming world. So, direct fights. So, our showdown this week is the Battle of Kings, to decide who is the King of Kings. Three-way battle this week, as always. First up, in the turquoise corner, I would assume, Cetra, the King of Kings, the Hawk of the Desert, the Crown of Chimeria, the Imperishable. Next up, we've got Mr. Shazam himself, the one who took Metallica's Ride the Lightning very seriously, Karl Franz. And then finally, over in what I'll assume is the shadowiest corner of the room, is Malekith, either on or off Seraphon, as you like it. A very, very old elf with some very questionable relationships with his mother. All right, so that is the battle. And I believe this round we are back to Kieran starting us off. So Kieran, kick us off.
I think we're back to to Mitch starting us off. We're going in the same order, but however.
Well, I said Kieran, you're first, so we're sticking with it.
That's
Go with it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you started with me, actually, because that'll save time in your show, because the other guys won't need to talk. And it is Karl Franz. It's quite obviously Karl Franz. If we're going to tie a little bit back to the argument before about centralizing the world, this is the central figure of a centralizing world. For all that Warhammer was, that was the iconic guy that represented it. So how can we expect any less than him to be able to beat down everything? He is also the wielder of the mighty Galmaraz, the most epic legendary weapon in all of the Warhammer world. It is on the cover. It has been on the cover for ages. And Karl Franz is an eternal character that's wielded it since before Warhammer began, where Sigmar was just a legend. Also, compile with that, he gets to ride around on the most loyal and deadly of all steeds in the Warhammer world in Deathclaw. Deathclaw, in multitude of instances, has saved that guy's ass. Not that he needed to, but he was there to come in and be his partner when he needed it best. Not to turn his back on him like a Seraphon kind of a dirty dragon would do, but to be there and carry him away. And that was reciprocated. So this is the thing that you love about Karl Franz, is he reciprocates that with him. Let's think about the moment in the end times when Karl Franz was wounded and Deathclaw went down, but Karl Franz came back for him, the wingless Deathclaw, and he guided him away so that they could be the unified powers that they always have been. As far as battle and as far as gameplay, if we want to tie in a little bit of that, Karl's got that going on as well. And it comes back to doing all the things in an exemplary level. He's got the highest leadership of anything that you can have in a Warhammer Empire army. He has the extended leadership that goes out in a grander bubble than any other possible model that you can field in Warhammer in general. And then I want to come back to it again because it's so central to everything that Karl does, is he's wielding the mightiest hammer that the game is named after. Galmaraz, the Warhammer, that is on all of the books that you have ever bought. Done.
All right. Karl Franz, a mighty argument for a mighty champion of man. All right, and that brings us to Mitch. You're next, sir.
Well, I think that we need to look at it in terms of the question again. I fail to understand how I could be losing to these guys. Oh wait, we're all on the even playing field. We all have 1 point each. So this is the Battle of Kings. It's a showdown. It's not who has the story most centered around them. It's who's the toughest mofo on the battlefield. And when I look at the stats, and I'm taking it from the Age of Sigmar approach because I'm not looking at at a dead system. I'm looking at a live system that's the future, okay, or at least the future for now, until the next thing comes out. So let's until 10th edition. But if I look at the actual stats, and I'm not talking about Karl Franz Ascended. Let's talk about story. Okay, fine. Karl Franz, where is he now?
Well, why don't we start with your actual answer? Start there real quick. Give me what your thing is first. Then we'll let you beat up on the other guys.
Okay, yes, that's probably the proper way to do it.
Focus, Mitch.
Cetra, he's got, let's see. Okay, thank you. He's got, first of all, he has a command ability that gives him +1 to his attacks. So he's going to be hitting on not 3s, he's going to be hitting on 2s. If he charges, which may or may not happen because he's probably the slowest of the 3 in terms of movement, he's going to have double attacks. So he's walking around with 4 attacks, even if he doesn't charge. That would go up higher. Just on his basic attacks. He's got a -2 rend, so he's hitting on 2+. I think he's wounding on 3+. He's got -2 rend, and each attack is 3 wounds. Each attack. Okay? Now, that doesn't even count the steeds. And we all know that all these models, from the Bretonians to whatever other mounted model there is, the real unsung heroes are always the steeds. They always do great damage, and there are 8 attacks coming from 4 of them. And they all do only 1 wound apiece, but those are the things that are probably going to kill these guys. If you happen to do any wounds to Cetra, he has an ability to save against them on a 5+, even if they're mortal wounds. If you inflict any wounds upon him, you immediately can suffer. If you kill him, you immediately will suffer die-6 mortal wounds. And he's called Cetra the Imperishable. Guess what? He's undead. He's coming back. And if you say that Karl Franz has come back because he's Shazam, well, maybe he's just not worthy like Thor and Mjolnir because some new guy in the new millennia is holding Gal Maraz. So I don't know if that's the embodiment of Karl Franz, but he's not called Karl Franz. He's just some guy in a golden suit. So I say Cetra the Imperishable is the winner.
All right, very good. The King of excuse me, the King of Kings. This is a strong answer. Jeff, take us home.
All right. So my answer is not Karl Franz, and it's not Cetra the Imperishable. ... It's Malekith. Malekith, simply put, is a boss. He's riding atop a black dragon, Seraphon. In the End Times campaign, Malekith became the incarnate of Shadow. I'll countervail your arguments later, but I'll point out that he was the only of the 3 who was an incarnate during the End Times. Truly, him as an incarnate. And he wields a weapon called the Destroyer. Enough said. The Destroyer. How are you going to beat the Destroyer in a battle royale 1v1v1 of these 3 kings? As a final point, I would say that Malekith, despite his incestuous history, despite the fact that he's a little burnt up from some of those phoenix flames that he walked through, I'd point out this. We're in a new age, ladies and gentlemen, and it's called the Age of Sigmar. No, it's not called the Age of Karl Franz. We'll get to that later. It's called the Age of Sigmar, and the Clash of Swords composition system, which is quickly becoming a major tournament system, has evaluated that Malekith is so powerful in the game of Age of Sigmar that he is worth 7.5 pool choices out of a total of 20 deployed pool choices. He's almost half an army by himself. The other 2 characters don't even come close to that. Mark Wildman fielded him at Clash of Swords and came in top 5 on the strength of this monster of a man, or an elf man, alone.
All right, I like it. All of your combatants. I've seen many strong reasons why they are the best, but now I need to know why they leave the others in the dust. So, Kieran, we go back to you to start us off. Why, after this showdown is done, does Karl Franz stand and the others fall?
Well, I think I'm going to start with Malekith, who is the second longest lived. I was going to say the longest lived, but probably the second longest lived of the 3. He has led a storied life of ups and downs, and mostly downs. I don't think that that guy has known, that anybody in the Warhammer world has known as much defeat as Malekith. As a leader, that guy has failed in everything that he's done. Everything. He's not gotten the Phoenix Crown until it was given to him by Teclis. And even then, he lost battle after battle to Tyrion. He has tried in the storied past to launch assaults on Ulthuan to great failure. And he also did manage to stick around long enough because of his own self-preservation and fleeing from battles in the past to see the demise of the Warhammer world for himself. But he lost that one too. Poor old Cetra. Well, as soon as he bumped into somebody that he couldn't subserve, he got beat down and slapped around pretty easily as well. I mean, Cetra's history is that, sure, he got himself up to the leader of the Khemri nation, which is old. I mean, it's ancient. It's been around for a long time. And he found a way through his mortuary cult to extend his long life and bring him back and send him back for naps and change his diapers and whatever else they had to do. But they brought him back many, many times. Died many times along the way. But in the end, he bumped into somebody, an old friend, Nagash, that slapped him down and made him feel silly as well, and left him staring at the sunrise for eons, just to stare there, and he couldn't even blink because he's got no eyelids. So, again, not a very heroic representation. And this is where I still stand behind Carl. People want a hero, not failures. They don't want people that are tyrants or cowards. They want heroes, people that success and strive and are there for their people, that can commonly unite. And in every case, that's Carl. In his shortest lifespan of all these three, he has done the most and gained the most renown. Done.
All right, I like it. So, Mitch, you're up next. Why is Cetra the imperishable when it comes to this battle?
Well, I think the title itself says it. He's imperishable. He's just going to keep coming back. He has probably just as many failures as Karl Franz, Malekith. I'm sure Malekith hasn't continued to come back. He's just basically been overshadowed by all the other cool elf heroes. Karl Franz, Karl Franz is cool. He became Shazam, fine. But I'm looking at stats. And when I look at stats, I'm going to give you the one thing. Actually, before I even go to the stats, let me just say comp. You're using comp, Jeff? Comp?
Yeah.
Comp in Age of Sigmar? Did you not see my video, my 59 minutes on comp?
I accidentally muted it. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, accidentally. Slipped and hit the mute button.
Whoops.
Age of Sigmar doesn't need comp. Sure, in a comp environment, I can make just about anything beat anything. Actually, anything can kill anything in Age of Sigmar. So don't give me comp. We're talking about the game and the stats. We're talking about the battle between kings. And let's look at Cetra. Cetra has the best armor. He kicks out the most wounds. He's got a defense against more wounds. He's got a defense against even mortal wounds. And if you manage to kill him, and he'll come back, he's called the Impenetrable. He still kicks your ass with die 3 mortal wounds. Take that. You're going to go down anyway, and then I'm going to get resurrected later. So I don't think that it really matters when you talk about the story or the history or who's won more victories. Cetra is the Energizer goddamn bunny. He's going to keep coming back.
All right.
Impenetrable. Did I say impenetrable?
You did, but
I'm sure you didn't mean that. Cetra's probably pretty penetrable.
I'm still on the War Mammoth thing.
It wasn't the weakest part of the argument, so.
I almost did a spit take.
All right. I think that takes us to you, Jeff, and you have the final word during this round. So,
all right.
Malekith.
I'm going to be completely frank with you guys. I chose Malekith because he's a boss. That's true. I wasn't lying before. But I truly chose him because I thought that the other two characters had serious flaws. So the real strength of this argument comes in my beating down the other two possible candidates. I'd point out, as I mentioned first, that he is the only incarnate. He's the incarnate of shadow. Is Cetra the incarnate of death? No, because Nagash is better, and he's the incarnate of death. Is Karl Franz the incarnate of heaven? No, only his corpse, because Sigmar is the incarnate of heaven. So neither of those two are the best in their races. Sigmar is clearly superior to Karl Franz. He's the one who imbued him with all that power in the end times. Nagash is clearly stronger than Cetra because he destroyed him in the end times, and he's much more powerful. In addition, I'd say, first of all, when it comes to mounts, I got nothing against Deathclaw. Okay, Dirty Birdie, as my friend Peyton likes to call him. No beef there. Cool mount. All right. Seraphon's a little better. Dragons trump, Griffins, but that's fine. But no beef with Dirty Birdie. And Cetra's riding around with just 4 undead horses. Mitch, are you seriously talking about 4 undead horses as something to be afraid of? I don't know how you roll.
I'm not talking about the mounts. We're not talking about Nagash.
I don't know about that.
We're talking about these guys.
Yeah, okay.
Whose profile diminishes? Have you checked it? Have you checked it?
It diminishes because it starts at a great height.
But whose diminishes? As the fight goes on, does Karl Franz diminish? He gets weaker. Does Malekith diminish? He gets weaker. Cetra doesn't get weaker. He's still as tough as he was in the first turn.
When I'm playing Malekith against Sigmar, you won't be wounding him. So, okay, yeah, Nagash is better than Cetra. I'm sorry, Vince. I know Cetra has a place that is near and dear to your heart.
We're not talking about Nagash.
But, well, I'm saying Nagash is superior, and so best in race, Malekith is truly the best. Truly the best.
I'm talking about best in race.
Yeah. Well, but, all right.
Sorry.
I'd also say that when it comes to Karl Franz, and I like Karl Franz, okay? But you referenced the hammer, Kieran, and I think it's instructive to note that Galmaraz is not the sole possession of Karl Franz. It is lent temporarily to Karl Franz, okay? He gives it to Valten occasionally because Valten is, the chosen of Sigmar? Why isn't Karl Franz the chosen of Sigmar? That's strange if he's so mighty and great. And I'd also say that new model they released in Age of Sigmar, that swirling mayhem of space trash, which I actually kind of like, but that aside, he has the Galmaraz now in the new story arc. Where is Karl Franz in this new set of books that we have out? Where is Cetra in this new set of books we have out? I don't know, but Malekith is mentioned. Malekith is mentioned as a god. He is a god. Those other two are mere mortals. I don't care if you can resurrect those bones one more time for Cetra. Malekith is the god of Shadow, Shadow incarnate. I rest my case.
It's a rumor.
All right.
Where's the word scroll?
All right. For this round, we're gonna need some additional argumentation. I don't have a winner yet. So, and what I need, it's down to 2. So, Mitch, I'm sorry to say they took you out. I hate to see Cetra fall, but I heard
only was Nagash.
Indeed, I heard stronger arguments out of the other 2. So here's what I want. I want Cetra's been temporarily perished for now, and the fight has come down to Karl Franz and Malekith. Okay, so now we're gonna go. Kieran, you're gonna start us off, and I want 30 seconds, a minute, on why in this now 2-person mono fight, king, why Karl Franz stands and Malekith falls, and then Jeff will go to you to do the same.
Okay. Well, I got to admit to you that I didn't bring in gameplay for Warhammer or Age of Sigmar into the mix, because that can play out a myriad of different ways every time that you do it. So I don't think it's really a strong argument to go down that route. I would just simply go on history and storyline. I'm going to fall on that, saying that we have on one side a great hero that is revered by his people and looked up as a godlike symbol in many cases by the most central race of the Warhammer world. And then we have, on the other hand, a coward who has known defeat and fled and just tried to work around backstabbing and shag his mom once in a while.
Okay.
So which of those figures do you want to get behind? Ask your votes.
All right, Jeff, you've got, and then same question to you for Malekith.
Kieran, you bring up history and storyline, but that's the weakest part of your argument. Malekith is Shadow Incarnate, he's a god. In the story at present, he is significantly more powerful than Karl Franz because Karl Franz is dead. Can't win if you're dead, unless you're undead, and that guy's already been eliminated from this category. But I would... yeah, you almost had it. But I would also say, real quick, in my last 10 seconds, you have two situations if you're a soldier in the Warhammer world. One is Malekith atop Seraphon, flying down from the sky, a black shadow darting from here and there, striking fear into the hearts of everyone. And then you have Karl Franz, radiant and light. Fine. But does that strike fear into your heart? I think that Karl Franz withers to Malekith in a one-on-one fight. I think that the Shadow Incarnate God slays him in that duel if it came down to it. Orcs aren't running away from Karl Franz, they're running toward Karl Franz.
Oh boy! All right, this is
that how that worked in the end times when Grimgor cowed Malekith? yeah, that's right.
That was out of turn.
Redacted.
Redacted.
That was out of turn, indeed. But I did hear it, but it didn't need to be said, even though. In the end, Kieran's other arguments in the previous were still strong enough. Kieran, round 4, I got to give it to you. Jeff, that was super strong. I thought you were going to come back and hit me, and Malekith was going to come back there. But in the end, the selling on why he's the greatest and why he wins the showdown, and it's because in the end, heroes win in stories, and he is the hero, and that's what Kieran sold me on. He is the central figure of the world, wielding the thing on the book. He gets to win. And I suppose in the end, even if it was Sigmar riding his body, he did at least wrestle Archaon down into a pit. So that's something. All right.
Well played, gents. Well played.
Absolutely. That was a solid round. That was a good round. All right. Round 5. As usual, we close out. It's not all Warhammer all the time. Round 5 is often where we explore some other games within the wargaming world. And this week, we turn our attention to a game that I've loved for many a year and has been gaining a lot of traction seemingly recently, and that is the game of Infinity, which is a beautiful sort of sci-fi game that has a sci-fi aesthetic I actually like. We won't mention that other sci-fi game that already might have been dropped a few times that it has an aesthetic I'm not as big of a fan of. So, Infinity, and the question for round 5 is as follows. What is the best Infinity faction? So, Mitch, you have first in this round. Round 5. Best Infinity faction.
Thank you for picking the game that I have only been demoed a handful of times, and it's been almost a year since I've played. But I will say this, it is a gorgeous game, and all the factions are stunning, and the models are fantastic, and it is a fun game to play. My favorite, and what I think is the best faction, is the Aleph. And for a number of reasons. First of all, you have a number of mechanics that I think are really, really interesting. You have this ability to jump between various different forms. They're a high-tech. They have a great access to technology, and they're very difficult to kill. And one of the ways is because they can jump between forms. One minute you could be a doctor, one minute you could be an engineer, next minute you can be a camo sniper. They have these really cool sculpts. Some of them will make you blush. I've seen some paint jobs that would make you blush, but they are just beautiful models, very sleek, very slender. They're just oozing action. They look like they're in the midst of. They all look like they're panthers in mid stride. Every one of them are just coiled up, ready to strike. Just beautiful, the beautiful look, but they're also very devastating on the table. So they're sleek-looking models, just begging to be painted, and the fact that they can be very difficult to kill means that they don't just look great. They're very, very complicated and tough. They're not a beginner army. They're the kind of army I think you graduate to once you've learned how to play the game.
All right, very good. The Aleph. All right, and that takes us around to Jeff. What's your choice there for faction?
Well, I chose Pan-Oceania. Pan-Oceania was my choice for a couple of reasons. I got a culture reason, set of reasons. I got a technology set of reasons, and I've got a model set of reasons. Culture, fluff. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but the Pan-Oceania is the most powerful nation in the human sphere. They've got the most robust economy. They have a welfare state, much like Kieran's, homeland. And they're known as, I don't know if you're familiar with this, I'm going to use quotation marks, the hyperpower. How does it get better than that? They're the hyperpower. And their cities, if you've seen pictures of this, their cities would make Dubai look like a city made out of Lincoln logs. Okay? That's what Pan-Oceania is bringing to the table. In terms of tech, they've got the most advanced technology in the human sphere. And a quote from the Infinity website reads like this. If life on the top is your thing, your place is Pan-Oceania. Okay? That to me signals one thing. These guys are the top of the pops, and these guys are the glitziest of the glitziest. Glitzyists. And this reminds me of two things. Those of you who've played maybe more skirmish scale Games Workshop games than you have played Infinity. These guys are the House Van Saar of the Infinity world. These guys are the Marienburgers of the Infinity world. If these guys were rocking up to the table and you were playing in Gold Crowns, they get an extra 100. I'm taking them every time. Lastly, the models are sleek, the models are high-tech, and they're affluent. They speak of foppish affluence. There's no riffraff rolling up to the table in the Pan-Oceania range.
All right. I like it. I like if life on the top is your thing. That's pretty good. Pulling the quote. That's a nice point. All right, Kieran, your choice, sir.
Yeah, my choice for this is the Hacky Slam, and I'm going to give you culture reasons. I'm going to give you aesthetic reasons, and I'm going to give you cool factor reasons. So, by virtue of the name, you can already sort of read into that they are centralized and emulating Islam Nation and the Middle East. So they are designed around a caravan trading sort of a collective, but there's sort of a bit of a pirate level dangerous edge to them as well. So they are running the galaxy and making commerce happen, which in itself might not sound glamorous, but it certainly opens up the lands to adventure and exploration for them. So that's an appeal in itself when you think about space pirates, and that's kind of where I've kind of brought it down to, and I think of them in that particular way. Secondly, when we look at the models themselves, and because I'm prepared for this, and I don't care if you think this is an advantage or not, I'm going to screen share and show you people pictures so the world can understand how good these things look. Look at these guys. They have, out of all these tags, this is the robots that's here in the middle, these guys have by far and away the coolest of all of them. It's like a six-legged, almost insectile thing. Tarantula, I think, is kind of where they're going with it, to be honest with you. But the embodiment of that itself is enough to push it over the top. Not that they have any slouches of other models in between, but they have an elegance and it's a simple elegance as well. So that's what I would say about them. That's the reason I like them. And also, for the last reason, and it's a simple one, but admittedly it kind of appeals to the boy in me, they are called the Hacky Slam, which would be an awesome wrestling federation name if I was allowed to make one.
All right. So the arguments are set, and now it is time to push over the dominoes. So, Mitch, we go to you. Why are the Aleph? Why should they be our choice? Basically, why are the Hackies and the Panos not the right choice here?
Well, let's first start with the Hackaslan. And I don't have too much negative to say about any of these other armies because they're all pretty cool. But the Hackaslan lack the thermo-optical camouflage technology that even the Pan-Oceania have, and as a result, that gives them a lower point cost. so they usually get a higher order pool with which to use. So they really are banking on the fact that they've got lower tech to get more order points. Okay, to get an order pool that's higher. So they're kind of a little bit weaker in some respects, even in my opinion, than the Pan-Oceania. Now the Pan-Oceania, they are considered to be the newbie army. So when you want to introduce somebody new to the game, Pan-Oceania is one of the first ones that people go to. They're very straightforward. They require less maneuvering. They're not as advanced. And even though they may be the top of the heap for the humans, the aliens have better tech. So I don't, if you want a new player friendly army, go to the Pan-Oceania. But since we're talking about sharing and taking a look at models, we're going to go to the screen share, and I'm going to go and ramp this up because clearly Kieran doesn't realize that we should all play fair. And I'm going to go and add to the tip jar and say, fuck that.
Hey, don't hate on me because I understand technology. Because
I'm an idiot?
Yeah. Is your 8-year-old boy around to help you with this technology?
He's 9. All right, so my screen sharing, can you see this stuff?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, great. Let's take a look at this dude right here. That's Ajax, okay? They named some of these guys from Greek mythology. Let's take a look at some of the awesome pictures that we have. Oh no, cover your eyes. There's boobies. Look at the sleekness of these. Okay, if you want boobies, you got boobies. Okay, look at the designs and the body. Look at this guy here. These are phenomenal models to be designing. And plus, wait a second, what's that? We got chicks on bikes. Chicks on bikes. And guess what the tag is? The tag's in the other armies, but if you don't know what a tag is, it's usually this giant robot-type creature or a mech-type creature. You know what the tag is for the Aleph? It's Achilles. He's a dude that's so tough, he's a tag. So there you go. I'm sorry. Game over. I have a feeling that nobody's going to argue with the fact that... How do I unshare, by the way? Oh, there we go. Stop. There we go. I have to go call my son over to show me how to stop sharing. Excuse me. I'll be right back. But I just won this argument. Have a nice night.
All right. Very good. Next up, Jeff.
Well, I'll give it to you guys. The Alephs and the hacky sack, hacky flute, hacky slan, hacky slams, they're fine. Okay? They're good. I'm gonna use one word to make my case as to why Pan-Oceania is the best. Hyperpower. All right? Hyperpower. Finn. They know they're the best. You guys should too.
All right. Very good. Anything else? You want to tear them down anymore?
Nah.
No, just rest it on there, just a mic drop.
Hey, listen, I'm playing the Bernie Sanders card here. I'm not here to tear down Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. All right, I'm here to talk about Bernie Sanders. I'm here to talk about Pan-Oceania. I'm not here to talk about Alephs. I'm here to talk about hacky slams. Okay.
All right. Fair enough. All right, Kieran. Then that means it goes to you then for our final. So why are the Panos and the Aleph? Why is the Alien Menace and the hyperpower not the right choice here? Why should we go for the lower tech, more subtle space pirates of the Hackies?
I got you. So for Jeff, I'm glad you finished off by drawing the comparison to American politics with your argument, because what you're getting behind in this Pano is the absolute. You're trying to be the pinnacle of capitalism. That's where you're trying to be. And you're going to take that as a compliment and say, yeah, fuck yeah, I am. That is exactly what I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to say that, man, all that capitalism is about is putting down and climbing the mountain on the backs of your people, on the backs of your own people, so that you can rise with a small percentage of 2% at the top and feel good about yourselves as you're pouring martinis and hanging out at the beach.
Survival of the fittest.
Fine for 2% of you, but when you look at the overall, it just sucks, right? Those are the kind of societies that will eventually implode. Yeah, you have all the fancy stuff. You paid off all of the great inventors, but are you winning the wars? Are you winning the wars against those that are more behind their cause and they're sold on the ideals? That's what the Hack Islam have. They're sold as a collective. They work together, not as individuals to get their own gains. And that is why they're improving. Now, on the Aleph side of things, yeah, I can appreciate your elegance. You know, again, we kind of go back again, Mitch, to how you stand on one side of the street one time, how you hate the Diaz nets and you can't sell models just based on boobies. But yet you flip it around here and you make your little stance on, hey, look at boobies.
I'm
Boobies
down,
on
man.
one.
I'm grasping for straws.
I would say. So there
went
you
to
go.
Boobies. You
so
can't argue
you're
that.
grasping for straws,
That's a nullified,
and therefore I think...
that's a nullified argument. You went the booby route. Just because I went the booby route doesn't mean that okay, I went the booby route. Okay.
You went the booby route, but after saying that I was wrong in going the booby route.
But you won that round.
Damn right I won that round. I'm going to win this round too, based upon your own failures.
I don't think so.
So I will stop stripping your ego, because you like high tech strippers instead.
Instead of old sad strippers. Sure.
Over to you, Vince. Time for you to make your decision.
All right. Well, honestly, I'm not there yet. We're not to a decision yet. This is the final round. There's a lot on here because, you know, this could be our final round. We could go to the speed round. And frankly, none of you have yet sold me. I've heard some fairly strong arguments out of all of you. But I'm going to go ahead and activate the final round here. We're going to give everybody 30 seconds. And here's what I want you to give me for your final argument, okay? Assume I know nothing about Infinity, all right? I want you to tell me why your faction is what I should play over the other factions that have been mentioned, okay? I walk up to you, you're an experienced Infinity player, I've got 3 starter-ish boxes in my hands, and I want you to tell me why your faction is the right one. So, Mitch, sell me. Why am I picking this Aleph box here in my right hand?
Fine. If you want to start out the game and play one of the other factions, go right ahead. But after 6 months, 3 months, a year, whatever the time is, you're going to get bored with the simplicity of those factions. And you're going to want something that's a little bit more complicated. And that's going to mean that you're going to be upgrading to Aleph. Okay? One of the apex, if not the apex army of Infinity. Okay, this is an army that is complex, it is advanced, and you're going to have drones. You're going to have the ability to displace between different types of models, giving your opponent fits, throwing them out of their strategy, wondering where you're really located. You're going to have chicks on bikes, and you're going to have a wonderful time painting these models because they're sleek, they're cool, they have the most amazing poses, and they've got character personalities that beat all the others out. It is the top of the heap, the level, the college level of the Infinity game, and the rest of them are still playing in high school.
All right, Jeff. Same thing goes to you. Tell me why I picked the Pano box.
Vince, you're a reasonable man, right?
It's been rumored.
Yeah, allegedly. We'll see how reasonable you are once you make your call here. Now, you asked us to each tell you why a new player should pick up any of our given factions. Well, let me let you in on a little secret. I've never played a game of Infinity. But what did I do in preparation for this debate? I read through the fluff of the Infinity factions, and I came to the Pan-Os. All right? And you know why I would stick with the Pan-Os? Mitch, you already helped me make this point. You said they're great for new players. Vince is a new player, so he should definitely play this. But what's most important to any new player in any game in which you have to paint your models, you're spending a lot of time crafting a story, you're building up tables to play upon, fluff and style and aesthetic is going to be most important to any new player if you want a long-lasting experience in a game. You're not looking for the best army, you're looking for the best army for you. And look no further than a Marienburger army in the game of Infinity. That would attract me as a new player. They've got the coolest swag, they're rich, they're affluent, they've got sleek armor. They're the House Van Saar, they're the Marienburgers of this game. So I am that new player that you're seeking for me to describe to you. And so I came to the conclusion that panos are the best. You should too.
All right, I like it. Kieran, same thing.
So cute. Seals it with a smile.
I smiled the entire through all the silly jokes and the lewd comments. I smiled the entire time. So
Yeah. Yeah, boy.
All right, Kieran. Why do I pick up the hacky box?
Well, I think I can do this because I spent many years with Games Workshop selling their games to new people and telling them why they should buy things. They might come up to me, as you described, with a handful of all very different things. But when it comes down to it, and Jeff tried to explain that it was about the fluff and the background, close. Those are second and third. But number one is aesthetics. Number one is what is the coolest model for you, sir? And it might be a different answer for everybody, admittedly. But it's this. So if you want to play this game and you want to have the coolest model in this game and the associated ones that go with it, you come here. You come here to this Hacky Slam Magariba Guard. That's where you start, kid. And then you will enjoy everything that you're doing because you're going to spend more time painting this model than you are playing with this model for the first little while. So as a new player, you have to love the model first. Absolute truth. Has to happen. There it is.
Oh, boy. All right. You all have given me a very, very tough decision here. In the end, you all had absolutely fantastic, stellar points in this round. This was maybe the best argued round that I have ever presided over. But in the end, it does fall to me the dubious position of picking one to win. And I have to say that in this round, all your arguments were strong, but Jeff, it's going to be you, sir, that win. And what sold me was your explanation of how you came to panos. There were many strong arguments leveled out, but you sold me on picking it up. And the fact that Mitch didn't help you any in previous rounds by saying it was your starter army and it's what you should pick to start, Mitch should maybe get partial credit for an RBI, but in fact it was Jeff.
Take it.
Which means that our final score at the end of round 5 results in a tie. So everyone was on the board, but Jeff and Kieran, you are both tied at 2, which means we must go into our speed round. All right? So here's how that works. I believe this is game 4, and this is the first time that it's happened. I've had a clear winner in every other one.
Exciting.
I get a week to prepare this answer, right?
If we're talking like in a Spock Wrath of Khan style, where 1 week is actually equal to a few seconds,
I am.
then yes. All right. So here is how the speed round works. I am going to say something. Okay. I'm going to say a thing. It will probably be an X or Y thing. Okay. The first one of you I hear that picks one of those two things gets to then argue for that thing. All right? The other one will then get a chance to respond, and the person who picked the first one will get a chance to respond to that. These are short. You have sub 30 seconds, hence speed round, okay? So, does everybody understand the rules of how this goes?
Yeah, I'm fascinated by this. This is going to be fantastic.
Wait, what does Mitch? My question is, what does Mitch do?
Smile.
I'm gonna take a nap.
Yes, Mitch
Mitch
still has a role to play in this. So when I am all done, I'm going to ask Mitch what he thinks. He's not going to get to decide, but I want his input. He gets to play a bit of a spoiler here. So you now have to convince both of us to a point. I'll have final say.
Shit, I have to pay attention.
All right. So everybody ready? The first, but don't argue immediately. But both say whatever you say. Whoever I hear pick an answer first will have first bite at the apple to defend their thing. The other person who didn't say it first will get the other answer. Everything clear?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So if I said apples or oranges and Kieran said apples, Kieran, you'd argue for apples. Jeff, you'd argue for oranges. Here we go.
Sir Jeffrey. Good luck to you.
Good luck to you, sir.
Good luck to you both.
All right, so here is the question. Skull Crushers or Demigryphs?
Demigryphs.
I heard Jeff first with Demigryphs. All right, so Jeff, you go first. You get Demigryphs. Kieran, you've got Skull Crushers. So, Jeff, Like I said, 30 seconds. Skull Crushers, go.
Demigryphs, coolest monstrous cav in 8th edition Warhammer, still boss in Age of Sigmar. They're so cool, the Games Workshop is still milking the concept of the Demigryph. They're miniaturizing it. They're putting it on little bases. They're making Gryph hounds, okay? Demigryphs, amazing cavalry. For all the reasons why Deathclaw was a beast, I conceded that in the earlier argument. Demigryphs are amazing. They're powerful in 8th edition, they're powerful in Age of Sigmar, and they're beautiful sculpts.
All right. Kieran, you have your response. Skull Crushers. Go ahead.
Skull Crushers are right out of the demon realm. They are the embodiment of brass and brawn. There's nothing more imposing, and I'm afraid that a flashy demigryph isn't going to cut it in comparison to that. It's diverse as well. You might not think of it that way, but it's used in the game for both demons as well as warriors, ridden by either bloodletters or chaos warriors. Both are punishing. Both are unforgiving. Both are unrelenting, and they do not flee. Let's remember that. No fleeing in a Skull Crusher. Just crushing in a Skull Crusher.
All right. So now, Jeff, you get to finish out. You have maybe 10, 15 seconds, just a quick response to his argument. So go ahead.
Well, I just claim that the Demigryph, intricate armor, is a painter's dream, and the Blood Crusher is just, well, soul-crushing, in that you have to paint skull after skull in that drab bleach bone color scheme. I'm picking Demigryphs every time as a painter. And I'm painting the beak scorpion green. How about that?
All right, and then Kieran, you have the very final say. So go ahead. Again, same quick thing, 10, 15 seconds.
Okay. Simply that it says it in the name of the demigryph. If it was a whole thing, if it was a full-on something to be reckoned with, it would just be called the Griff. It's half of what it should demi. That's what it states in its name.
All right, so we call it there. So first we go to our newest judge. So Mitch, if it came to you, who would you pick in this fight?
I think Jeff was a little pitchy, and I don't think that Kieran made it his own. I think I would give this. Well, I think I would give it to Kieran only because I think that Jeff had so much more potential in this, and I don't think he dipped too far into the well of the Griff.
I didn't wet my beak enough.
No. Just slightly edged out by the creativity and philosophizing of Kieran. Just a little bit.
Thank you.
All right. So, time for the final decision. From my perspective, I am going to give it to Kieran here at the end. I agree. He did just edge out Jeff. His last joke was solid. He got you down there. Although I will say, in the first argument, you had me winning when you mentioned the Griffhound. That was very strong. That was a super close speed round. Everyone, you should both be very proud of that. But Kieran, you are the Wargames champion for the current 2 weeks. There you go. We have a new winner. Jeff, a fantastic performance on your first time out here. My goodness, man. Did you bring the heat, sir? Those were great arguments all the way down. I mean, really, that was wonderful. And Mitch, always an absolute pleasure. Fun and funny all the way through, man. Good stuff.
Good job, guys. Well done.
I had an absolute blast. This was a great time. And congratulations to you, Kieran.
Thank you to my opponents. I'll give you my political wave. My queen wave.
All right.
Yeah, actually, that was tremendous. No slouch on Nick and Ant, but I think having seen this show evolve a little bit and getting a chance to be involved in it the second time, it's really evolving, and the credit to all three of you other fellows here putting in the effort on this. It makes it good to be a part of, and I imagine it's absolutely scintillating to watch.
I keep them on the edge of their seats, that's for sure.
I think we need an obstacle course.
Absolutely, yeah, physical challenge. We'll go for the physical challenge. Gentlemen, any parting thoughts before we call it an evening? Jeff, any thoughts on your first time? Will you come back again?
Oh, anytime invited. This is an absolute pleasure. You guys are great. Big fan of all your channels. Oh, and on that note, I'd like to make one quick plug for the Mc1Gamer blog. That's where I come from. That's my web entrance into this show, really. Unpluggamers.com. It's a blog that me and my game club do up in the northeast of the United States, and we post pictures of models we're working on, work in progress, mega battles, stuff about our grand tournament. Check it out if you're interested.
Awesome, fantastic. I will link that down below, so everyone should absolutely go visit that blog and interact and send feedback and comment and all those sorts of fun things. Absolutely. Mitch, final thoughts?
I want to announce a new series that I'm going to be instituting once I get your Mordheim Age of Sigmar rules.
Yeah,
I have a buddy of mine who has a 9-year-old also, and the 4 of us are going to play test your Mordheim Age of Sigmar rules, and I'm going to do a series on it.
Oh wow! All right, boy, that's you should have told me that at the top of the show. You might have gotten some extra points. No.
I don't think it would have helped me much, Vince.
As of course, if you're not already subscribed to Mitch, I will put a link to his channel as well down below. What are you doing? Subscribe immediately. Kieran, the champ. Final thoughts.
Well, I'm afraid I don't have anything to endorse. I'm a little embarrassed to say. I'm still hobbying though, and I'm intrigued to meet and talk with fellow hobbyists all the time. So perhaps amongst us we should do some paint-a-sodes and things like that in the future.
Oh yeah.
I'm painting now. I'll join you.
Absolutely. Yeah, Mitch, you'll have a reason to be in the paint-a-sodes besides just hanging out. You'll actually be painting. How weird will that be?
Yeah. And people have a different reason to laugh at me.
All right. Well, with that, I will say I will link to Kieran's channel down below. He does have plenty of content there, including a fantastic series on the end times, which I may have a personal bias for thinking you should go and watch the entire 50 hours of. Do you have 50 hours of painting of a New Age Sigmar army to get done? Well, guess what?
Yes.
Kieran has the content for you.
I've watched it. It's an awesome series.
There you go.
I'm halfway through.
There you go. All right, and you can hear me say way too many times. Good God Almighty. All right, with that, we will call it an evening. Thank you all, gentlemen, very much. Fantastic show. You are all welcome back anytime. And for all of you out there, thank you for watching. Leave your comments down below. We'd love to read them. Did I decide a round wrong? Tell me down below. Tell me why I got it wrong, or tell me what you would have picked or you would have answered. All that is great. But as usual, thanks, and we'll see you next time.